This you? Right.
Was poppin', was poppin', was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
That was a long delay. Wow. And
Yeah,
welcome to.
I saw you speed up on me.
I was very
Go,
confused.
Megan.
And welcome to the live show. All right. We have some major announcements that happened and all that great stuff. But before then, do me a favor, please. Like, share, subscribe. There's about like 70% of y'all who are not subscribed to our channel but watch us on a regular. So do me a favor, please just hit that subscribe if we've ever added value to you in some way, shape, or form so we could grow this channel. Thank you. But of course, new episode dropped, 166. I believe we're at 166. 166 dropped today. Personal branding tips for introverts. Where are my introverts at? Type in me, whether you're in the chat or in the comments. Type in me. If you're not, Nicky and Moose, I'm an extrovert. Leave me alone. Like, I want to be part of this convo. You are part of the convo. Still listen to the episode. It's really dope. So, all that great vibes. Moose, how are we feeling today?
Man, feeling good. Back at home base, as you can see, into the normal setup. For those of you who watched the episode, well, no, you can't watch the episode until tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow so you can see that I wasn't in my normal space. But yeah, just got back, man, after 15, 16 days of travel. So that's two relatively long trips this year, Egypt and then this second run here. So yeah, other than that though, things are well, man. Excited for this conversation tonight.
I like it. And the family's good.
Yeah, family's good, man. Little one is steadily growing, that's for sure. God is chasing her around now. So it's a new chapter, and you know, we making the best of it.
Is this the most she's traveled?
She honestly has traveled quite a bit. Like, she's racked up some serious miles, because you got to remember, we took her to Egypt at just before 4 months.
Right.
And then she's gone with us to Florida, Virginia, multiple places. Texas, I believe she went. Yeah, she's done a lot of traveling, I'm not going to lie. But this one proved to be the one that we gotta like put her on the reserve list for a little bit. Like, okay, you gotta get off the plane. This is not easy. You know, she doesn't want to sit down. She's at that age now where she's like, okay, I'm not just about to sit here for a whole 3 hours doing nothing. So yeah, so we're like, all right, you know what? Maybe we should just chill a little bit on this travel with her, and come back at another time.
I ain't mad at that. I was like, knowing that you went to like different spots. That's what I meant. Like, I know she's a world traveler now, but I mean like the multiple cities, like boom, 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 boom. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this was the first of that. This was the first of that kind. We did the multiple spots or whatnot.
I ain't mad at that. Head rack. My guy. That's my guy. But all right, let's get into this amazing episode or live show, however you want to call this. Moose, set this up.
Yeah, man, this is a pretty interesting conversation because Nick's dropped this in our thread today. Talked about, hey, let's talk about how to communicate your personal brand, or how to really articulate who you are from a personal brand standpoint. So I find this so interesting because this is not just verbal communication. This takes a lot of nonverbal communication cues as well when you talk about expressing yourself from a personal brand standpoint, or being able to articulate to the online digital world who you are, what you represent, and ultimately how you're there to help people. So there's a lot of different things that you got to take into consideration when taking this stance, because I truly believe this is the difference between those who end up being successful online and successful, call it, whether that be connecting with a lot of people, really having people support and listen to your movement and your message, or even generating revenue as a result of, whatever route you choose to go down the path. And for those who end up falling a little bit short or not necessarily seeing the progress there is, especially when you have the best of intentions, you're still talented, right? I think we're all talented in some shape or form, but you don't get the response that you want. You got to ask yourself, well, what's the disconnect? And in most cases, it's you're thinking that what you want to say or what you want people to understand about you, you think you're saying it a certain way, but people are not necessarily receiving it from that same standpoint. So I definitely want to get your take on this, Nix, too, especially when you talk about controlling your brand, right? Or controlling how your brand is perceived. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into it. Let's kick it off just from that standpoint right there. How do you control the perception of your brand online, especially now with, and we could talk about it, but the clip era of, hey, I'm gonna just take this segment, boom, that's the part I'm gonna comment on, and it could be easily taken out of context.
So actually, I'm gonna bring it right back to you the way that I'm gonna set this up, where when we're talking about the controlling part of it, we're talking more about first we got to understand self, right? So with personal branding, we always got to set it up. There's a personal side, and then there's the masses side, what people know of us. But we first have to understand the personal side, like who are we, and how do we truly control the narrative if we don't know the basics of who are we, right? So I think I'm going to flip it back to you when it comes to the self-assessing, especially going into the new year, is like, what do we really have to sit down and think about when we're talking about controlling the narrative, controlling what people know of us, controlling these different messages, but controlling it in a way that is natural to us, controlling it in a way that is true and authentic to us. So I really wanted to go a little bit deep in the beginning part of the self-assessing, because I think that does get kind of brushed over because we get so caught up in the marketing side, the branding side, the distribution side, which is extremely important, but can be very confusing if we don't know this very first part. So I wanted bang, tag you in on that.
I take it. I've been spending a lot of time really focusing on the why behind why I do certain things. So just recently I had someone reach out and he said, hey, I'm looking to invest about $40,000 to start an e-commerce brand. I saw so-and-so talk about this online. It looks like a very low time management, or let's call it a low time investment. It won't require much time from me, and I'll be able to diversify my revenue and I can make more money. And I said, all of what you're talking to me about is money. Now, what I can tell you about deals like this, when you go into it strictly for money, they end up requiring way more time than you expect. And you usually make way less money than you anticipate as well, simply because that's just a part of the marketing strategy. So I said, if this is more than just money for you, I don't think that this is the move for you. I say that to say I've been focusing more on the why. What I realized, Nix, is that because of the world we live in and we're so interconnected, a lot of our goals are no longer ours. So you might say, hey, my goal with my personal brand is to do the following, but you got to check the source with that. Is that really your goal? Or is that a goal that you adopted subconsciously because you heard someone else talk about what they want to do online and you said, oh, I like that, I'm going to do that too. And so a lot of times the disconnect with, and maybe not even to use the word disconnect, but just the concept of self-assessing, and we talk about controlling our narrative or our brand, it all starts with, can you just take a deep dive into your goals and make sure that they're purely yours? They come from a pure space. You're not borrowing them. You're not doing them for the wrong reasons, because that typically is what's going to separate those from the ones who carry on and push through discomfort or challenges and struggles, and those who give up at the first sign of a warning because they're saying, nah, this is not the way the dream or the goal was sold to me. So I have to say, if you're going to self-assess, I would say start with just making sure, start with just making
your
sure.
battery.
There we go. I gotta love it.
His battery's out. His battery's out, people. This
Take
is
this from me.
this is what happens on a live show. Okay, this is what happens on a live show. He is taking care of that. I'll jump in from where he was going with it. I think for me, when we're thinking about as far as self-assessing, the battery battery died. You feel me? It is exhausted. It is extremely exhausted. Shout out to Sony for exhausting our batteries. You know what I mean? But when we're thinking about the personal side of the brand and going into the new year, for me, I'm just speak for me. I'm really on a reflecting mode in this time, right? And kind of looking back and not going so much on a negative. You know how, and chat, let me know if I'm right or wrong with this. You know how when sometimes we reflect, we look at the things like, this is the goals I said I was going to do and I didn't do it. I still didn't get to this done. I didn't get this done. My brand should be a lot further. I should be getting a lot more. I'm reflecting more now on all the amazing things that has happened, right? And I had to really sit because, sometimes you're like, thinking about that or saying that out loud can sometimes feel like a flex. Some people cannot necessarily care what your wins are, things. And I'm like, there's a point to where we have to stop being so humble. We have to stop being so humble. There are a lot of the things that we've accomplished that we do need to bring in to the new year. And so for me, I'm just reflecting on that. Like, what did I do actually really good this year? Whether it was my work ethic, what was my energy, whether it is the way that I talked to my audience, whether it was a new segment that we brought in. I'm looking at the positive things and I'm like, this is what I'm bringing in for the new year. This is what I'm okay with people associating with me going into the new year, right? So there's a lot of reflecting of this is the good part. And sometimes we think about it. Look, Nick literally said, I literally just said that. All right, so I ain't alone. And let me know if you're in the reflecting vibes right now. I actually asked this for my subscribers on IG. Like, are we in reflecting mode or are we not there just yet? Right? They said a win is a win. Hold on, I got that. Hold up.
A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say.
We're going to treat this like deeper than brand live at a certain point. But I'm okay. Feel me with this, right? I'm okay with, me coming into the new year with a new YouTube channel. I'm okay with the growth of my Instagram growing 65K extra more followers. Right? I just put up a post and it said 106K. I'm at 166. You know what I mean? Like, could I say, damn, I ain't reached 200. Now, granted, most of y'all are like, shut up, Nicky. Shut up, Nicky. I get it. But what I'm saying is I'm looking at all the highs in it. I started a newsletter. I could go and beat myself up. Man, I only got 1,000 and some people on my newsletter. I'm going, I started a newsletter. I don't necessarily like writing. I hate writing. I got a newsletter and I got 1,000 and some people, barely anybody unsubscribing on a thing that I hate doing the most. And they there every Friday. I'm bringing that into the new year. I'm going to actually be more intentional with the things that I hate, I'm actually going to be more intentional with working on it to not necessarily hate it, but that's not necessarily my favorite. This is how I'm progressing. This is not necessarily my favorite. You feel me? It may be okay, but it's not my favorite. So I'm not tripping off of, you know what? I hate doing this newsletter. I hate writing. I'm going, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Do I have the right systems? You feel me? Do I have the right systems? Oh, we got some people. I'm in a reflection mode. What's up, Kat? I see you in the building. She didn't say hi to me, but she in there. She in there. Pop said reflection mode for sure. I mean, so when we're thinking about the personal brand and the self-assessing, let's just make sure we know exactly, especially going into the new year, we know exactly what we want to go into the new year being known for. I want to be known for having a YouTube channel now. I want to be known for when it comes to this podcast. Hold on, let me show you. Hold up. Give me a second. Where is it at? Where is it? What? For Nicky and Moose now having a Patreon. You know what I mean? Now having a Patreon, 597 posts, and we just soft launched that. Okay? It's in the pin post if y'all not part. I'll shout some of y'all out. If y'all join right now, I'm gonna shout some of y'all out. All right? We just soft launched that to the IG broadcast channel. So, you know what I mean? And I did it to the newsletter. You know what I mean? So shout out to everybody who's becoming a Patreon supporting that. It's only $4 a month. That's like 13 cents a day. That's it. You feel me? But like in the chat, let me know. What are you bringing into the new year when we're self-assessing and we're looking at all the good that we've done, the positive that we've done? What are we self-assessing? Like, what are we saying? Yo, you know what? In 2024, I'm a podcaster. You can have 2 episodes. You started. Yo, I'm a podcaster. You feel me? Yo, I'm growing my YouTube, right? There's still some things I still want to do. I still want to get up to 3,000 subscribers before the thing ends, but that doesn't negate that I started my YouTube channel. No YouTuber. You know what I mean? I'm still growing my personal brand. I'm taking over the word content. I'm taking over the whole vibe of female AI. You know what I mean? Like when you think of AI and a female, you're probably going to think of me. Like, what are we bringing into 2024? Start putting that in the chat. That's what I'll say about the self-assessing, which for me is more reflective. You know what I mean? Now, hold on. We got some people. Hold on. We got some people. Aaron says, "Hello, Nicky." I know he meant to say hello, but hello, Nicky. I don't generally start reflecting until after Christmas. You know what I mean? Pop said, my Sip Story series, building that all the way out. You know what I mean? If you're part of Deeper Than the Brand, you know this phase. Talk heavy. Come on. Javier said, I'm growing my brand in who I am and my channel on YouTube. Positive Energy said, Positive Energy Real Talk Chris said, you just gave me the light bulb moment. Come on. That's what I'm just trying to do. Thought Leadership Tour 2024. Ooh, wait, that's what you're doing, Kat? That's what we doing? Wait, Aaron said, no, I meant to say hello. Okay, all right. Listen, I'm here for it all. Now, when we're talking about communicating who you are, right? Communicating who we are. What are the words that we want to make sure people associate with us? Right? What are the words? And this really goes into the branding side, to be honest with you. But this is why I said, first we got to know who we are. We got to self-assess. We got to feel comfortable with that. But what are some words? Now, when we think of we go basic when it comes to this branding stuff. When we think of basketball, we think of several people now. We think of Michael Jordan. We think of LeBron. We think of Kobe. You know what I mean? And some of y'all may think of more and more, right? I'm thinking of sneakers. I'm thinking of Nike. I'm thinking of Jordan. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? When you're thinking of, I'm just going to bring up things that I know. When we think of hats, I'm probably thinking of New Era, right? When I'm thinking about, let's see, what's around me? When we're thinking about water, right? We're thinking about water. Some people will think about Dasani. I'm not saying me. I'm just saying some people. I'm not that picky with water. Judge me all you want to. Some people will think of Evian. Some people will think about, what else is there? The spring one. A lot of it, you see, this is how I don't care about water. You feel me? But you get what I'm saying? Like, if we're trying to control and communicate who we are, what are the words that we want associated to us? For me, that's going to be content. That's going to be AI. That's going to be personal branding, right? Those are going to be the three that, look, Nick, I said I don't care. Listen, shout out to all my water people. You know what I mean? Shout out to all my water people that are real, like, specific with the water. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not it. I'm not that person. Sorry. Not that person. I wish I could. I wish I could be, but I'm not. So he's like, damn, Moose really tapped that. I'm trying to find him. But you know, this is what it is. It said Dasani is way better than Arrowhead water. I never had that. I absolutely never had that. What is that? I mean, wait, did I miss? What is that? What's Arrowhead? Now y'all gonna make me Google that. What is Arrowhead? All right. Anyways, so here we go. So Positive Energy said uplifting, motivation, inspiration. Upliftment, motivation, inspiration. Okay. Drop y'all words. Nothing is right or wrong. This is not one of those things. This is just what is y'all words, okay? Because for me, like I said, content, AI, personal branding. Now, things can, like, there may be different seasons for other things, of course, but those are going to be naturally my thing, right? Of course, social media is part of that as well. When people think of social media, sometimes they think of me, but I'm more on a, you know what I mean? The content thing, y'all got to talk. Y'all got to say me. Y'all got to say me. So hold on. Not Nicky, hold up. Nick said this. Moose unlocked a new feature. Want to get out of that Zoom work meeting? Put a barely hanging on battery in the camera and let it die. Hey, yo. No, that's a fact. Hey, whatever. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing when, this is a different way. Now, wish Moose was on, but we gonna make this work. So once we understand the words, right? Once we understand the things that we want to associate ourselves with, how are we communicating it? And if y'all have been part of the flight assessment, y'all know there's 4 types of people, right? And with understanding the 4 types, if y'all don't know, that's a pilot, flight attendant, grounds crew, and air traffic controller, right? And if you've taken the flight assessment, in the chat or in the comments, type, what are you? Okay? Type, what are you? I'm a pilot and a flight attendant. Okay, I'm a pilot and a flight attendant. But hold on, where's Moose? Trying to find another battery. Trying to find another battery. That is for sure. He's trying to do that right now. We're gonna get him back. But I wonder, Moose, if you can hear me, just join from your phone. I mean, just join from your phone. Just use the link and join from the phone. So, we have 4 types. And we have to understand that there are people who receive information or receive certain things differently than others. So, for example, I'm a pilot and a flight attendant, right? Oh, I think we may have Moose back. Let's see.
Oh man.
Hello.
I love the comments. Nick, that's a cheat code for real. I'm going to be using that sometime soon. I ain't even going to tell you when, but I am going to be using that. That was a great idea. Just, oh, shoot. Technology went down, y'all. I'm going to have to. All my batteries died.
Listen.
Yeah, so.
Well, let me set you up because I brought up the flight assessment, right?
Yeah.
I got people already typing, what they identify with. And if you haven't taken the flight assessment, please go to flightassessment.com and figure out if you're a pilot, flight attendant, grounds crew, or air traffic controller. But I think once we, figure out the self-assessing and who we are and that whole nine, when we're talking about, controlling, our personal brand and communicating who we are, we also have to be aware of how to communicate that.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding there may be different ways to communicate who we are based off who we're talking to. Now, it's very hard to do that. Well, think of doing that because we're not looking at 4 different types of people. We're just blasting out to the world. So I think instantly we blast it out in a way that comes natural to us. But when being intentional with communicating who we are, how do you make it a little bit easier for the people to understand when you're communicating who you are, you may want to touch these different points to make sure you communicate with everybody?
Yeah. So, I mean, you really unlocked this probably when we first started dabbling in the flight assessment 2020-ish or so, when you simplified the 4 groups into 2 groups and just said, hey, extrovert, introvert, right? Unless you're really studying this or you're getting certified or you're utilizing the tool as part of your process or it's a tool in your toolkit, it's not necessary to really take a deep dive into each of the individual styles, right? I think it can become overwhelming, even somewhat boring for people who are not overly passionate about it. But I think the simple way is just to think about, we have 2 groups of people. A lot of people really resonate with these 2 terminology or these 2 terms, extroverts and introverts. I like to use different words to even help us understand a little bit more. And I say you have a why group and you have a how group, right? You've often heard me say it on the podcast, say every why person needs a how person. So every person who is a visionary or a go-getter, they need process-oriented people to partner with them because those are the 2 that usually make the wheel go round. So when you start to think about it through that, there are natural words just intuitively that you have a relationship with each of those words. When you think of extrovert, you think of, okay, this is someone who's sociable and all about the fun. So you want to highlight, if you're talking to, or you're an extrovert trying to communicate that segment of your brand, you want to highlight that part. What elements of it are fun? What elements of it are relational? or community based? What elements of it really communicate a large vision, something that people will want to rally behind because it's motivational, because it's working for a good cause, because all of the best people or all the people you need to know, they're a part of it. These are things that you might want to highlight, right? So there's literally one of the suggestions when communicating with that extrovert group is if I'm hosting a workshop that is teaching people how to utilize AI as part of their content and branding. It's like, hey, did you know Nicky's going to be a part of this? Right. So it's like you're almost, you want to push and let them know all the greatest people are going to be involved. So those are ways, just at least really focusing on the extrovert examples, to highlight the things that people are attracted to, that you're focused on or come natural to you. And that's one of the greatest ways to really focus on that communication piece when you talk about highlighting your own brand.
I like that. Janita asks, is there a specific formula for drafting content for groups?
Yeah, speak to that a little bit on your end, because the word content is in there, and then I'll kind of
more
piece
messaging.
it
Think
together.
about it. Think about it more as messaging. I'll go into content.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just stay true to the extrovert introvert concepts. You know, when I think extroverts, of course, if I'm going to differentiate between pilots and flight attendants, pilots, I know two things make it rather easy for me to speak to them. How is what I'm doing going to help them make money or save time? Let's just keep it simple, because pilots don't have a bunch of time for details anyway. So when I tell myself, if I want to make something really work for a pilot, I want to emphasize, highlight, how is what I'm doing going to help them make time, make money, save time? That's all you need to focus on. For starters, great place to start. We talked about the flight attendant really with that extrovert. I probably highlighted more of the flight attendant in that extrovert example that I just gave than the pilot, but it's a lot about the community-based, relational, visionary concepts, the fun, all of those elements really are intriguing to them. When you jump over to the introverted side, my battery might die again here, so you might need to come off and come back on. Yeah, but from the introvert side, and maybe I could do audio only, Nix, if it dies for a second until this thing charges up.
Do it from your phone.
Okay. I'll do that too. So when you think about it from an introvert standpoint, these are the people who are just detail oriented. They're not convinced that something is good. They want to know, well, why is it good? You know, how do you know is it good? Who else has this worked for? Can you show me some proof that it's good? So they're not just going to take your word for it, that whatever you're saying is going to work out that way. They want some backing. They want some detail. All right. So that's that dominant air traffic control. And then of course the grounds crew is more of an easygoing style. So they just want their hand held throughout the process. So that step-by-step guide, those are really, really beneficial for the grounds crew. But of course, that's an air traffic control's love language as well.
I like that. And then when it comes to the content side, it's really figuring out certain trigger words, I believe, right? Trigger words and visuals. So we already understand from a visual standpoint that that's more of an extrovert. Right, if you could catch their attention, you pretty much are they're kind of locked in. Like, okay, well, what we doing? Whereas more for introverts, you're going to probably have to go a little bit more in detail, such as your captions or maybe just the details that you say inside of your videos, right? So where from an extrovert, we may want to just go more, get to the point. So if like let's say for the Patreon, right? I could literally go for my extroverts and those people who's been supporting us. Yo, the Patreon is live right now. Okay. There's a pinned post right there, or go to patreon.com/Nicky and Moose. Go get it. It's $4 a month, 13 cents a day. We got exclusive content. Go get it, right? Some of y'all are going to be like, say less. We're good, right? I'm going to go to the Patreon. Some of y'all are going to be like, okay, what's in there, right? So I'm going to say, we've been working on something for a while now. We've been doing this after show for about 2 years, and we understand the limitations with Apple Podcasts. Not everybody has Apple Podcasts. You may not trust subscribing over there. So what we did was found a platform that we could trust that puts all our content in one location. You'll get early access to the podcast episodes. You'll get audio and video of the after show. So there's already 590 something posts already in Patreon. We're going to do our live shows starting in 2024, going to be only for Patreon. So now I'm listing out the details and the perks when it comes to Patreon, because my introverts are going to be like, okay, what's in there? Like, why am I giving you, like, I like you, but what am I getting in return for the $4? You have 2 different tiers. Give me the examples of the 4 different tiers. You know, like the 2 different tiers, where one tier, you get the after show, you get all the content, where the top tier, you get the live streams, you get shout outs. So we got, for example, Brittany, Teresa, Billy. You know what I mean? Those are the 3 people who've already signed up to the top tier. They get member shout outs on the podcast. They get shout outs on the lives. So with your messaging, with your content, you got to break it all the way down. More clearly, when it comes to introverts, you may want to go more into a story vibe for them to truly understand everything that's happening. With the extroverts, like I said, as you're telling your story, what is the visuals that is keeping them having their attention? So that's when we're talking about the different formulas. That's kind of from a content standpoint what I'll say about that. How's your battery? Your battery good?
I mean, it's you know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's hanging on by a thread, but let's see. Who knows? Who knows? We're gonna run it.
All right. Well, you bring up the next one. You bring up the next one, and if I have to carry,
one of the things I really want you to talk about is the non-verbal communication parts that come with a brand, right? Like, one of the things I actually been thinking about, because and granted, growing within E's brand, it was easy to just say, oh, t-shirt and a hat, even if it's the same exact t-shirt every time. If it's a branded t-shirt, you're good. But then I really think in 2024, and it happened a lot in 2023 as well, people's style and the way they dress is coming back into the brand, right? Like, it's not just a branded t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever it is, and that's it. So I'm seeing that make a comeback, but that does say something, right? What you wear, what your setup is like. There's a lot of nonverbal cues that are communicating to your audience what you're about. So I want you to just speak to that while I let my battery rest a little bit. What do you think of when you're doing something and you say, hey, I want, from a nonverbal standpoint, I want to make sure I'm communicating what my brand represents?
Mm-hmm. So I'll say people, and this is a lesson, and I think I brought this up in Deeper Than the Brand, or one of my lives. I don't know. I do too many lives, Jesus. But one of the things that I'm realizing is really embracing influence, right? So meaning people don't want to be sold to, but people want to be a part of what you do. So I said this before, where there was a time where I was really going through my energy drink phase, right? Mm-hmm. So I was trying all these different things. This is when I was drinking the energy drink Bang. And so I was just showing, look at all the ones that I have. And then Aaron the artist bought him. And then I was on a Suja vibe, and Aaron the artist bought him, right? And I was like, I'm not even selling these. Like, but people are buying it. And I'm realizing and we mentioned this in the podcast, the importance of integrating the things that you want to sell or what you want to promote, right? And how more effective that is than necessarily saying, hey, come to this, come to that, right? Where, and this is just a more of a transparent standpoint where I'm already thinking about when it comes to the Patreon, how do we integrate more of that without necessarily saying, go to buy the Patreon. It's going to be more of, this is why we added the member shout out. This is why we're adding the voting power in there. So when we're talking about question of the day, when we're talking about, and shout out to our Creator Av members, Brittany, Billy, and people are like, wait, what is that? You know what I mean? I don't have to say this is on Patreon because I believe that when that happens, Isaiah is slowly going to show a Patreon joint and it's going to speak for itself. So when we're talking about these nonverbals, we have to just think of integrating. We think of just how do I just become me? How do I sell a hat without selling a hat? How do I sell a hoodie without selling a hoodie? How do I sell a drink without saying anything about the drink? And it's just being you, and it's just showing it. I like I said, we mentioned this in the podcast this week. If you haven't heard, if you haven't heard it, where I'm thinking more, or I said in the after show. I don't know. We do too many things. It's either in the podcast or the after show. One of the two. You should be listening to both. But I said, even the brand deals that I've done recently, I feel, and this is a feeling, I feel that I could have done it better where I'm going to show the process rather than just show the tool. I'm going to show how I'm using it. Where it's going to be. Like right now, I'm heavy on Opus Clip because we're now growing ET's UOU 365 community. And so we're going to be taking clips that he's done from old Zooms, from challenges, from summits, and we're clipping that up and putting it in the free Facebook group so people can be reminded what's happening, which will then get them wanting to be part of the community and purchase the UOU 365. I'm also saying, hey, in the community, do not say buy and go into the community. Get UOU 365. Get UOU 365. Get the book. I'm not saying that. I'm saying here's the clip. Speak the value of the clip. Say you can get more in the UOU 365. People are going to continuously see it in their face because we have to see it multiple times, hear about it multiple times before we're going, oh, you know what? I need to see what this is about. I'm doing that right now with E's content, where on the low, if you look at his captions, you'll see hey, 2024 is coming, and I finally opened up my coaching program. Just type in coach. I'll give you more info. You see the value first from the video. You see the value first from the caption, but then there's this little thing right there that's like, hey, if you want to know more about it, it's there. So it's different things, different triggers, different visuals, different words that will make people curious, and curiosity creates sales. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What's I missed out on your talk around reflection and all that because I definitely wanted to get in on that. I've been doing reflection for a good, what feels like 6 weeks now. But as you look into next year, is there one or two main things that you feel have to be different from a branding standpoint, just across the board, podcast, deeper than the brand, even what you're doing personally?
What do you mean? Break that down a little bit more.
Anything, just anything that you're like. So, for example, I'm looking at what happened with extreme execution this year, flight assessment, all of that, and really the last several years, because it's been pretty consistent in terms of what we've done, what we've said, how we've branded, how the entire workings of it. And I truly feel that if nothing changes going into 2024, we're not going to have a successful year. So I've already identified multiple areas that I feel are going to be necessary for us to continue our growth going into 2024. So one of them, for example, is we've usually kept the flight assessment marketing to be very general. Hey, get to know the real you on a deeper level. Improve your relationships. Become a better communicator. Identify your superpower. Very generic. So now we're saying, hey, let's niche down and actually focus specifically on helping entrepreneurs and executives utilizing the flight assessment. All right, so 2024, we're shifting a little bit. That's one of the things that we've identified. Say, all right, here's one of the things that we know we need to change. So I'm thinking for you, is there anything that you've identified just through this evaluation period or reflection period where you're saying on the podcast front, deeper than the brand, or even with your own stuff, that you're saying, this is the one thing that I feel has to change?
That's a really deep question that I don't know if I'm that part of my reflection just yet, but I'll answer it on the fly. That's a very good question. I think and when it's that good, that means I could be too transparent. So bear with me. I think when I think about deeper than the brand, I think what I'm realizing is how true and powerful that community is. And understanding that we are truly out, I wouldn't say truly out, but we're kind of out of the course era. And I'm talking about the course era as far as the $1,000 courses. I don't believe those really hit as much as they did with the pandemic and when we were at home and we just needed that information quickly.
Right.
I think the community is needed. I do believe like programs are still needed. But I think doubling down for me on the experience in the community of Deeper Than the Brand is something that I want to focus more on than necessarily the courses and the programs and that whole night. That does have to be there in order to level people up. And I know I'm going to be focusing next year on more of I wouldn't say live events, but in-person experiences, where next year we're doing a mastermind in Puerto Rico, right? Which will be announced this week if you're going to the mastermind in Dallas. So these are some of the things that I'm like capturing the in-person community, but also figuring out a way to capture the online community that isn't lame. That's where I'm really kind of like, how does this work? How can we because I don't want to downplay the online people because they didn't make it to an in-person event. Or an in-person situation. So I want to find a really dope way to recognize them, show them, and not just screenshots of like, look at what all the people do and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's cute. But I think more it's highlighting the culture, highlighting the members, just having more fun in a place that, or in a, not a place, but in a situation where branding and creating content doesn't sometimes feel like fun. It seems like a chore, something mandatory that we have to do in order to survive in this day and age, and just finding more of the human side of it. So that's long answer, but
Yeah.
that's kind of
No,
like
that's good.
going into 2024. Like, how do we make the online not look so lame when we highlight it, and how do we make those online, those in-person situations kind of the new norm, but not just a typical, let's do a regular meetup, blah blah blah. Like I said, I'm going to Puerto Rico next year.
Fire. No, that's good.
What about you?
And quite honestly, well,
Besides the flight assessment, like more for you. You asked me on the spot.
yeah. I shared mine, not thinking you was going to, send it back, but
No, I got because you set that up. You're like, I already knew this one. Flight assessment.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope. You.
No, I think for me, I really just need to take a stance on. I'm getting crystal clear on what I want my personal brand to represent, and one of the ways I've been communicating that is, or at least just the way I've understood it is, I don't want to teach based on what I studied. I want to teach based on what I built, and so I'm convinced more than ever that it's time for me to get back into building a true business, like its own independent company where I'm the operator within that company, and I can extract a lot of the lessons from what we're doing and what we're building and infuse that into the teaching. That's where I've seen the most success. Like I'm even having way more fun on the extreme execution side of things because I've just taken that role a little bit more as the true operator instead of the let me study, create content around that, teach it, and I'm just really teaching what I studied. And so the more I think about it and the more I look at others who I respect just in business in general, I've realized that I respect more of those who are building or who are builders rather than those who just teach. So I said, okay, that's got to be me. So I know that that's what I want to do. I just have not found the space or the idea yet. Like I have some clues. Like, okay, I want to do something that involves this and this and that, and I could do it here, but I haven't found okay, got it. Like I don't have that crystal clear clarity yet as it relates to that. But I'm excited to do that. I think that'll be a lot of fun building something from hopefully not the ground up, but maybe from the second floor up. I'm not a fan of starting from the ground up anymore. If I can find my footing, somewhere in something that's already somewhat in momentum or moving, that's always that's a good place for me.
How intentional are you to having ideation time? Like, do you schedule that out a week?
No, but at least I know that I need to because of all of what I've done over the last 6 weeks. I've discovered that, and that's probably the first time I've talked about it in this much detail in ever, right? Like we started this by saying self-assessing to know how to articulate yourself or to know what's yours and what's not. That was the point that I was trying to make, in the beginning of this, is to say the difference between someone who self-assessed successfully or who's self-aware or one who isn't is the person who is relatively self-aware. Their goals are their own. They're not inherited through some form of influence or something that they enjoy or someone who they respect. And all those are necessary, nothing to downplay them, but it's good to really, have something that's yours. That's what keeps you consistent in the long haul. So I think I've gotten to that point where I've journaled on these things. Like, okay, I know I need to do this. I need to do this. And I've created T-charts. Like, what's the pros of being in this space? What's the cons of that? So I've done it in a way that's that I think is probably the most I've ever ideated or at least planned for it. Now it's time to jump into that. So I'm open to suggestions because I know you're an idea person. So I'm sure you got some best practices around that.
Yeah, I think scheduling out, like literally in your calendar, one hour a week or 1 hour a day in the week. So it could be like Thursdays at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm doing ideation. And that's it. Like, it's not like for me, for more people who are the ideas person, they may do that every single day. Now, granted, I'm not doing it for a whole hour. I'm doing it for like 20 to 30 minutes a day, right? But for you, you may need to actually have it in your calendar and be intentional so you could write out everything that you have so that when you're going into the research vibe, you already have those different ideas already written out, right? Instead of, this, for me, I know I'm going to be more intentional with writing out the ideas because what I do is I research and then I get at the ideas, right? Which is really like, it's been working for me. So I'm not trying to totally rip it up, but for me, I think it's more of being intentional of finding the ideas. Once I find the ideas, research those ideas and then breaking it down into different pieces, whether it's, is this going to be right for the product and service creation? Is this more for the content side? And are we breaking it down into several different types? Is this long form, short form? And kind of making sure, for me, I use Notion. So making sure that I, categorize it in those different ways. So I'm already setting up different templates. I'm already setting up different custom GPTs that is helping me just kind of once I get the idea, do the research part for me. So just being intentional with that and just, so it makes it just a little bit easier to see it because at least for me, I'm more of like, it's in my head, but I know if I'm getting in a phase of it got to be in writing, I think for you that could also be, helpful of like, I at least know if my day is Thursday, I at least know by Friday I got something I could really
dedicated day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. The word whiteboard came out of my mouth at least in 3 of my 4 meetings today. So I'm headed in that space again. But yeah, no, I like that. A dedicated day to do that. I could definitely do more of that. I was expecting things to kind of like wind down a little bit this time of the year, but just with what's happened over the last week, I feel that I can benefit more from continuing my workflow than resting. So I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you're still in like, it's not really slowing down, then it's just really adjusting. And like I said, it may not be an hour, right, based off your schedule, but being very intentional with at least 10, 15 minutes, boom. Like, and if you do that, like, okay, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 10, 15 minutes, it's on the calendar, do not disturb, boom, we're good. It's just like how you would take the workout serious. I mean, it's just that same vibe.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually going to put it in front of the workout for that reason because, it's one of those things that the more you leave it up in the air, it's like, oh, I'm going to get to it after. And there's always things that come up in between. So it's one of those things that I think I'm going to just have to push it up in the day and jump on it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Look, your battery lasted. It lasted. We're not going to push it no more, people.
I'm not going to say nothing. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm just not about to say nothing to that.
we already here. We're already here. Look, people, we love and appreciate you. If you got any value from this, any type of value, do me a favor, drop your favorite emoji in the chat, drop your favorite emoji in the comment section if you really got value. All I'm saying, we got a Patreon, come support on Patreon. After show's already up there. So when you keep hearing about that, it's over there. Tomorrow, the video side is going to show on Patreon first tomorrow. And then for everybody else, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. Don't ask me about specific time because especially now that time changed. I don't know anything about the West Coast time. But we love and appreciate you guys. Before Moose's battery goes out, you know what we're going to say.
Peace, y'all.